going on to the second part, which is that she went into it naively, and there was no one there to support her, and blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, I think I've heard that narrative before. And I think that narrative I've heard from before is from a 19-year-old girl called Diana Spencer. And it's just so coincidental that Meghan repeats a lot of the same narratives of Princess Diana. And I have an opinion that is for two reasons. One is it's trying to tail back onto someone who people think is great. So someone who is almost sanctified in some people's minds, someone who's honest, someone who suffered, who is, just an icon. And it's tail backing on the back of that so that you can somehow be associated in such a way that you can sort of, some of that glory or that icon magic can rub off on you, because people will associate you together and you'll always be mentioned together. Oh, well, Diana's so much like Meghan's so much like Diana, blah, 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 blah. And then you can sort of elevate your status just by mere association with somebody who's already an icon, right? So I've had the exact same experience as her. And then the second reason, I think, is because it legitimizes what you're saying and it gives you credibility, because you're saying the same thing as somebody else who a lot of people love, adore and trust and look up to, right? But they are not the same people, okay? Very different. So that's why I think she uses a lot of her narrative. And also perhaps there's actually a third reason, which is Harry. And it's being able to manipulate Harry. And manipulation is such a nasty word, but I can't really think of any other word at the moment. But to manipulate him in any way she wants, because she's using the Diana narrative. So for him, it's like, oh my God, it's true. It must be true because it's what my mum went through. And then it's also the association. So it's, I've got to save her because I haven't saved my mum. I get now to save my mum. She's exactly like my mum. I'm not going to let people do to her what they did to my mum. I'm not going to partake in a game that killed my mum, kill my wife, right? If I don't interject, then the same thing's going to happen. I'm going to lose this key woman in my life, as I've already lost the key woman in my life, which is my mum. So there's a third incentive there. But, okay, for me personally, I can understand that the reality of what it is to be a working member of a royal family anywhere around the world, that no one is really going to truly understand that unless you're in it, or perhaps born in it. And that no one can really truly be prepared. I don't think, even with lessons, I don't think you can truly be prepared unless you're born into it and raised in it, because you're always going to be subject to other people's opinions, right? So even if you were trained to the best of your ability, the public are still either going to like you or not like you, right? There's members of the royal family who were born in it that people like and don't like. Like, it just is what it is, right? So you're either liked or you're not liked. You're either loved or you're not loved. It just is what it is. That's human nature. So I don't necessarily think that being trained and prepared is going to necessarily work and give you a successful career in the royal family or a royal family anywhere in the world. So I do have sympathy with that, and I do accept what she says about being naive. But I don't think it's as easy as what she's trying to portray, because I think at the same time she's very different to Diana. And there are other people who have been in the royal family or married into the royal family who have been a success, like Kate Middleton, like Sophie Wessex. But I feel like she was in a completely different position as Diana, because she was in her mid-30s, going on to her late 30s when she married Harry. She was a divorcee, meaning, she's been married before, okay? She's been there, done that. She's been divorced, so she's been there and done that. So she's got experience of that. She's got experience of a broken marriage. So that is something, obviously, she's not going to want to repeat, and she can identify things that went wrong. She's got experience, yeah? I'm not denigrating her. I'm saying these are good things. These are things she has experience of. And she's a celebrity, okay? So she's got experience of PR, marketing, magazines, tabloids, blogs, talk shows, speeches, red carpets, people wanting autographs, paparazzis, modelling, you get it, right? She has experience of all those things. Being in the public eye, she had a Instagram, so people commenting negative things or positive things, having a fan base, having haters. Like, she's got experience of it. Perhaps not of the level of a Beyonce, but she's got experience of it. When you compare it to someone like Sophie Wessex and Kate Middleton, who were private people and they were private citizens, right? You know who Meghan dated, you know who she married. You don't necessarily know that about Sophie Wessex or Kate. You'd have to kind of search. But you know things about Meghan more than you would anyone else, because she was a public figure and she was already experienced in humanitarian work and charity work and being involved in organisations. So she had a lot of experience behind her, as well as life experience, yeah? And so for me, that point in her life, I don't know if it's right that she should have allowed herself to be so naive. Also, having the knowledge of what happened to Harry's mum, and I can bet my dollar that they had numerous conversations about his mother, numerous conversations about her experience. She's probably met friends of Diana before they got married and talking about her experience. I mean, it must have dawned upon her that other people have had very difficult experiences, not only Diana, but Fergie, and perhaps there'd been conversations or knowledge of the things that Kate experienced and the headlines. And so there must have been those discussions, because there was already headlines, there was already paparazzi, there was already all of that negative press and, a lot of interest in Meghan before she married Harry, before she got engaged with Harry. And there was already Harry pleading for security. There was already, I believe, security put in place. And there was already Harry doing these public, this public message about the press coverage of his girlfriend. There was already all of that before they got engaged. So you've got a taster and some idea in your mind that this is intense, right? And then a woman of that age with that experience, who is also an actress, meaning that she plays certain roles. And when you play certain roles, you research that role and you have a script which you have to memorize and keep to in order to ensure that you are effective in your job, which is acting, right? So I would have thought that. And she strikes me as a very clever, very intelligent, very well prepared, very well prepped and ready to go, really ambitious and industrious and, really and really keen to do good, like do well at her job, that kind of thing. She strikes me as the do-gooder, the star of the top of the class, that type of person. And so that's what she strikes me as. I don't know if she is because I don't know her, but that's what she strikes me as. So I would have thought that knowing that you're going to marry this guy, I would assume that she would have come to that conclusion. They would have spoken about marriage, and I think they did speak about marriage and children a lot earlier in their relationship, before the engagement. So a lot earlier in their relationship. So that this is a reality. So I would have thought from then that you would have been looking into what it takes, right? Because that that's going to be your life. And there would have been loads of conversations with Harry, and I think he even mentions it in the engagement interview that, about whether she's been prepared or not. And he says, well, I have tried to, speak to you and talk to you. So there's bound to have been those conversations. Nobody's going to sit there and just be quiet and be like, oh, well, it's your choice. Obviously people would have spoken, if not the least her husband. And she would have, I would have expected her to do her own research, that this is what it's going to take before she makes the decision of getting engaged, or even after she's engaged, before she's married. The conversations about, this is your staff, this is what they're there for, this is what you do. The whole thing, I just find it bizarre that she just knew nothing and went into it so naively and wasn't prepared. And the whole wasn't prepared thing, I mean, that's been, people have dispelled that and said that she had some dossier with all these the relevant people to speak to and so forth, and she'd been given Samantha Cohen and other people to support her, and she references things like, oh, I was told I couldn't wear the same colour as somebody more senior than me, or the Queen, if we were all in an event together. Well, who told you that? Because I thought you weren't given any support guidance or any classes. Who told you that? So it, as she speaks about certain things and protocol and things like that, it seems as though, you've got some knowledge, someone's told you something. And so I'm going to end this with my biggest question. Is, if this was such a horrible experience, and speaking from Harry's perspective when he writes Spare, is he seems to have been so unhappy in so many ways by being a member of the royal family, and talks about the press and the duty and blah, blah, blah. I get it. Why did you, in the first place, bring your wife into the fold? Why was she so willing to be in the fold when she would have known, okay, I'm a member of the royal family, I'm not going to have my own voice. I'm going to have to stick to protocol. I'm going to have to represent them. I'm going to have to do these certain causes. I can't choose what I want to do. I can't go off and do an Oprah interview. I can't blah, 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 blah. She must have known that, because she's not stupid. So if you are so independent, California living, I'm political, I want my voice, women's rights, I'm so independent, we want to share our story, our love story, our, blah, blah, blah. Then why, if she knows that is where her heart is and that's her personality, why did she voluntarily go into this? And why did Harry, knowing what his mum went through, knowing at the time what he was going through, because apparently he was unhappy with all things he was going through, why would he bring his wife into that? And he knows what Kate went through. He knows what Fergie went through. He knows what his mum went through. He knows what that Sophie Wessex has gone through. He knows these things. He knows what would be required of Meghan. He knows what the press is going to do. Why would he put her in that position? Why would he not say, do you know what, love? Let's get married, but let's not be senior members of the royal family. Let's be a Eugenie, let's be a Beatrice, let's not take these titles, let's not, be involved, let's go off somewhere else, or even if they want to live in England, or even if they want to live in California, whatever it is. Why did they have that whole, where the Magic Four or whatever, and why did they, and the Australia tour, and we're president of the Youth of the Commonwealth, and why did they do all of that, and the South Africa, and why did they do all of that? Why would she do that if she knew that everything it stands for is against what they do? And, they talk about colonialism and racism, all that in their documentary, or at least they have people talk about that. Why did they then become senior members of the royal family? Why did they do that? Why didn't he want more for his wife? Why didn't he tell her? And why didn't she listen if he did tell her? My personal view is that he thought naively, I think she's magic. She's my mum reincarnated. That everyone else will think exactly the same. And everyone will fall in love with her. And she will be the biggest star of the show. And I think she thought naively, Harry's telling me all these things. And I've heard of these things that have happened to people. And the people are telling me about the British press. I mean, she even said her friends were telling her about it. They're going to destroy your life. But I think she thought, but I'm different. I can do better. I'm different than them. It's not going to happen to me because I'm great. And I'm going to make it work. And I'm going to be so good at this. I don't even need training. I don't even need to talk to Camilla. Also, if you Wessex as suggested, I don't even need to speak to these experts in this dossier because I am so natural and everybody's going to love me. And when that didn't happen, that's when it all came crumbling down. And then they start trying to find excuses as to why they have failed, right? Because she failed. She couldn't do it. So instead of saying, I couldn't do it, let's have reasons why. I was treated differently. It was unbiased, unconscious bias. It was the press. Let's have all these reasons. I'm not saying that those reasons didn't exist, but they're not enough to drive you out of your job, of a family, destroy a family, rip them apart and leave a country. I mean, come on. So I'm going to leave the video there. And like and subscribe, guys. And hit the bell button, I think it is. So you can be alerted for other videos. So yeah, take care, guys. Bye.
But do you have that sense of responsibility, Prince Harry, for what you're asking Meghan to do?
Of course, that sense of responsibility was essentially from day one, or maybe a couple of months in, when I suddenly realised actually this is, I know that I'm in love with this girl, and I hope that she's in love with me. But we still had to sit down on the sofa, and I still had to have some pretty, frank conversations with her to say that, what you're letting yourself in for it's a big deal, and it's it's not easy for anybody. But I know that, at the end of the day, she chooses me, and I choose her. And therefore, whatever we have to tackle together or individually will always be us together as a team. So I think she's capable
so nicely said, isn't it?
I don't know. She's capable of anything.